This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC on location, LA Convention Center. We were able to coerce Sam from Flex to come to the show and do a podcast with us in person. I'm delighted. You're going to learn a lot, and you're going to find out there's a huge revenue stream just sitting out there, and she's going to help you capture it. So, Sam, welcome to your first Halo Talks.
Thank you very much.
So, coming from Sam Fran, she's immersed in the HSA, FSA reimbursement process, which is a tidal wave of a small TAM of $150 billion with a B. A lot of zeros. You have to turn your iPhone sideways to calculate that. And she is going to tell us what the steps are to get a hold of that and to get your members marketed to properly. So tell us what the roadmap is and why you decided to get into this. In any order you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like you just gave a lot of my pitch
so we
for
can
me.
just end the podcast
yeah,
now.
We'll
Thank
wrap
you very
it up
much.
Right here.
Yeah, here's the website and sign up tomorrow.
Yeah, but I think, for this audience, if you're a gym owner, if you're a fitness program provider, if you're an exercise equipment provider, this is a really interesting space. So I guess I'll start with why I got into it, and then we can go a little bit more practically into how you can take advantage. So, I'm a lifelong athlete. I played a lot of sports growing up, played a lot of sports in college. Soccer, basketball, and lacrosse.
Okay.
Yeah, probably lacrosse is my go-to, but...
Okay. Soccer was I was a goalie in soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day. What position were you?
I was left midi.
Left midi, okay.
Yeah.
If you said sweeper, I'd come and give you a hug, you're like my savior,
No, defense wasn't so much my thing. I always wanted to be a striker, but I ran too much, so they put me at midfield.
All right, cool. That's good.
Yeah, so, lifelong athlete, continuing now as an adult, I'm a CrossFitter, always known how important exercise has been to my health, and not just my physical health, but my mental health. And what's very cool now is that we're starting not only to see people talk about this anecdotally, but actually get real research around it. I think for a long time we've known, walking, great for cardiovascular conditions, lifting weights, great for osteoporosis, osteopenia. But now we're starting to see even more research come out, particularly around mental health and the impact that exercise can have. So overall, when I thought about starting a business, I was like, what am I personally passionate about? What's part of my lifestyle? And where can I make an impact? Yeah. And so that's kind of how we landed here.
Let me just ask you one business school related question. Isn't there enough research done already? Exercise is the right thing to do. I just don't another study came out. Okay, it's going to tell me exactly what the last study was. We know it's good for you, and we still have to pound the drum on these people that are trying to prevent us from being preventative because it doesn't fit into their business model. I think that's what's going on.
Well, I won't speak to their business model, but there's such a wide range of exercise, and everyone is different. So, depending where you are in your journey with exercise, depending on the condition you have, the background you have going in, you're going to see different outcomes, different benefits. And with anything, there's always some potential risk. So we want to be really thoughtful about who we're encouraging to do what activities and under what supervision. But overall, yes, fundamentally, this is great for you.
Yeah. I mean, even somebody came out with a study. We're big pickleballers, and our Halo acronym, the O in Halo is basically for pickleball. Because I go to a pickleball court and there's 40 people, and I'm like, what would these people be doing right now? And they would be sitting on their couch, they'd be watching a game show or CNN or CNBC, reading a newspaper, and they're all out there at whatever age. It's pretty amazing. So United Healthcare said we have $5 billion more in cost due to pickleball injuries. And I'm like, yeah, but where's the $10 billion of mental health and longevity and other shit that's going to happen that's not going to happen now?
Yeah, lower blood pressure.
The return on investment is so spend $5 billion and get a 2 or 3x return immediately.
Yeah, I don't think we as a, in the U.S., our healthcare system is really oriented around taking care of you once you're sick. And that's how we've traditionally thought about cost, and what's missing from that conversation is exactly as you said. Okay, well, yes, we're spending all this money on pickleball injuries, but I think we can all agree that having people get out and exercise 20, 30, 60 minutes a few days a week is going to be beneficial overall. We just don't look at that prevention aspect when we think financially.
Yeah, I feel a number of these studies are these cost-related, buzzwords. I want to counteract each one and be you forgot to think about this benefit to it. So what brought you directly into the HSA FSA? Because as you may know or may not know, IRSA as an industry has been trying to get this FIT Act passed, which is called PHIT or something, physical health something. And I said, one, I don't think it's being marketed properly. Two, I feel there should be a way to do this without going to Capitol Hill and try and solve it. And it appears that the IRS has created like a window for it. Maybe they're like trying to like shut the window like half closed and get some like WD-40 on the side, like so they had some announcement. But like, where did you see this opportunity originally? How did you say like I know how to solve it? And then what's happened in the last 60 days? So it's a 3-part question.
Yeah, 3-part question. So, I originally saw the opportunity. I started the company thinking I was going to be a digital health founder. We were going to provide exercise programs that were covered by your health insurance. And in that process, started looking into how do I get covered by health insurance? And then how do I get covered by HSA, FSA? Because as I learned, getting coverage by health insurance, the bar is very, very high.
Yeah.
There's, it's a really enterprisey sales process, multiple years. Usually have to do a clinical study to validate your specific program, all of these hoops to jump through. So started looking at HSAs and FSAs, thinking maybe this is a more accessible space. And it turns out it is, because the IRS, while they have, an official like approved list of items, think of things you might buy over the counter at CVS or even your prescription.
Not to stop you, but the interesting thing is like I go on DoorDash now and you shop at Walgreens and it actually says HSA, FSA eligible, which I think is awesome because now it's like heightened awareness. It's like marketing.
Yes.
HSA, FSA, which hasn't happened before. At least I wasn't noticing it.
On that side of the business, and we'll probably not get into this so much in this conversation, there are some actual regulations around the payments infrastructure that those stores are required to have. And so that's a little bit different than what we're going to talk about for fitness providers. It's basically 2 different paths to get HSA or FSA qualified. But it's very exciting to see companies like DoorDash, I think Instacart, Walgreens, others have rolled this out. And what it's really doing is increasing awareness for consumers as to, hey, I can spend these dollars not just at the doctor's office,
Let me ask you a
elsewhere.
question before we move on to the next set.
Yeah.
Because I want to understand this. HSA, FSA, Walgreens gets approval to sell and have an HSA checkout, right, on payment processing?
Yeah.
But do each one of the brands and products have to actually get approved directly, or does Walgreens basically get those approved on their behalf? Do you know how that works?
Yes, I do. So it's actually a little bit of both.
Okay.
So there's a governing body called CGIS. They're a nonprofit.
How do you spell that?
SIGIS.org. And they maintain what's called the eligible product list. So if you're a merchant, and let's say you produce a product, you'd like that product to be HSA, FSA eligible.
Give me that acronym again.
CGIS, SIGIS.com, .org, SIGIS.org.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, so they're a nonprofit. They maintain the eligible product list. And brands, if you produce a product, you can submit to be considered to be added to the eligible product list, the EPL. There's a submission every single month. CGIS and their committees review those submissions and make sure that the products adhere to the IRS guidelines as to what qualifies for HSA, FSA. And once you're on the EPL, then the product is eligible. But that does not immediately mean that Walgreens can go ahead and accept HSA, FSA for that product. So that's how the product becomes eligible. Someone like Walgreens, because they're not a healthcare institution, so they're not a doctor's office, they're not a hospital, they're required to have certain payment infrastructure as well to verify that the products they're checking out with HSA, FSA are in fact eligible.
And that they're pulling from a valid account directly out of that account.
Yes, yeah. So that they can accept those debit cards that we as consumers get from those providers. So they need to have a payment system called an IIAS. We're getting really into the acronyms here. Inventory Information Approval System. What this is, it's basically part of your POS that instead of just running the transaction, what it's doing is verifying at a product level that the SKU is on that eligible product list. So you're checking what's in the consumer's cart against what is in the eligible product list. And then they're verifying that, yes, these 3 items in your cart are HSA, FSA eligible. The other 3 are not. And they're going to be able to accept HSA, FSA as a form of payment for part of the cart and a credit card for the rest of your cart, and then allow you to check out. So it's really a multi-step process, and building that infrastructure is non-trivial, and that's why I think you see a lot of brands only now coming out with that infrastructure. The growth in HSAs over the past 5-7 years has been really significant, so there's a lot more market opportunity for these merchants to accept the funds. As you said, $150 billion. It's like, okay, we want consumers to be able to spend that here. It's worth building that infrastructure.
Got it. So talk about, I'm not sure we answered all of our questions, but I
no,
think
we kind of went down.
No, but we're going down a path of like, okay, so I understand the ecosystem, or like how the marketplaces, interact and work. I know where the money is. I know where the approvals are. Now the approvals for fitness.
Yeah.
How did that evolve? Like, that feels like a new thing. Is that like 90 days or 120 days? And then how do you fit into that?
Yeah, so that's also been around for a while. I think for a path for fitness brands is a little bit different. So a fitness program, a fitness piece of equipment, gym membership, they're not going to get on the EPL. They do not meet the IRS guidelines of a medical product or service. Typically, those goods and services are classified for general wellness, which does not qualify. However, the IRS has explicitly carved out that if your doctor recommends a fitness program specifically to treat a condition, in that case, that program, that membership, that product can become eligible. And this has existed for a long time, but consumers weren't aware of it. And so what you'd have to do is, one, become aware, two, make an appointment with your doctor, have a conversation, get a letter. It's called a letter of medical necessity.
Right.
Then you'd pay out of pocket for this good or service. Then you take both of those documents, a receipt from the purchase and the letter of medical necessity, and you'd submit for reimbursement.
Into your HR, or into your expense.
Into your FSA provider or your HSA provider.
And those are all outsourced, but there's here's who you call for your...
Yeah, think like Fidelity.
Like a corporate intranet or something.
Potentially within your corporate intranet, or you could go directly to Fidelity, Health Equity, Lively. Those are some of the bigger providers. So you could do this process yourself, but it was really not well known about, as you heard, multiple steps.
You probably had to
multiple
educate the doctor also. That hey, you could write me this, and they're like, I never heard of this before. Probably.
Yes, doctors sometimes wrote it for things like orthopedic footwear, glasses, things like that. But not fitness. That was, not something that consumers knew they could bring to the doctor. But the guidelines, if you have a condition for which exercise is a valid treatment, you can qualify. And so where we come in is we really streamline that whole process. We put it directly into the checkout flow for the merchant. So instead of having to go make a separate appointment, pay out of pocket, Flex comes in, we partner with merchants, we sit as a payment option in the checkout flow, and we're going to, do an asynchronous telehealth visit, get you the necessary documentation if you qualify, and process that HSA FSA payment.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, that was a lot of info, so let's back up.
I'm raising my hand. I love raising my hand because I just so it's more formal and feel like you're like the teacher now and the student, so we're flipping it around. The one thing you hit on that's interesting is there's a certain condition, and I am getting a letter of medical necessity for that certain condition. I think what's happening, from what I can tell, is like getting a marijuana license. Oh, you have stress. Okay, here's a license. And just dishing them out, right? So if you're saying okay, you have something that is chronic pain or something, I'm going to recommend you do Pilates. I'm going to recommend you do yoga. I'm going to recommend you do a bar class. I'm going to recommend you do a higher dose infrared sauna thing.
Yeah.
So does the condition, once I get a medical necessity, let's say they tighten this up a little, right? They say, I got chronic back pain, which I don't, by the way, so I'm not using myself as an example. I don't think I'm that old. I did SoulCycle yesterday. So do I have to have that chronic condition and then say okay, these are the products out of this category that you can buy? Or right now it's you can buy basically anything in the HSA, FSA store or what's available because I have this letter of medical necessity that allows me to use it for this entire category.
Yeah, that is, I will say, I think that's a bit of a gray area right now. So when you get the letter...
It's a good question, all right?
It is a good question. When you get the letter from your doctor, what we do at Flex is, the doctor is getting your condition, and they're writing the letter for the very specific product or service.
That's what I want to understand.
So,
got it.
And that way we make sure we're asking the consumer questions that are directly relevant for that product or service. So it's not like a general intake form. It's very specific. If you're doing, let's just take orthopedic footwear. We work with one of those companies. You have to have one of a dozen conditions in order to qualify to make that purchase with your HSA FSA. If you're just, I want to wear comfortable shoes, that's not going to, meet that threshold.
Now, do you provide, so your team right now, I would state, and you can correct me, like you're a fintech company, basically, focused on the HSA, FSA, $150 billion category, to partner with business bricks and mortar providers to start, and basically match those up with either the members or prospective members and tie that into a match.
Yeah, we think of ourselves as a fintech company with a telehealth offering.
Okay, that's why the telehealth is basically like, they're not necessarily full-time doctors, but they're certified, approved, and hey, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do this evaluation, and it's going to come out the other side, and you're going to say, hey, I run this company, and that's like real, and it's like been done properly, and it's like
so we have
the doctor's name's on it, right?
Yes,
it's their liability.
The doctor signs the letter.
And it's their liability, like their patient.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. That's what I want to know.
It's a clinical decision. So we do not set any type of quotas for our doctors or any type of guarantee for our partners that says you're 100% of the time these patients are going to qualify, because that's not the guidelines that the IRS provide.
Good.
But, when we think about the average, the American customer base, 30% are obese. The prevalence of a variety of cardiovascular conditions is huge. How many are diabetic or pre-diabetic? And that's even before we get into the mental health challenges, which we're now seeing exercise be able to address. So the reality is, around fitness and exercise, we see a very large percent of consumers having a condition that does qualify them. And that's where we want to bridge that gap. We want to make it easier, because exercise truly is it's such a beneficial thing to do for your health. We want to make that easier for people.
Got it. What I want to talk about is, take me through, and sometimes I'll ask people about, like, how does your business work, right? And I'll get lost. But but the way you talk and the way I talk, we're team players here, like we're on professional. Okay, tell me exactly, how do I get to the goal, okay, from here? So I'm going to put this up. This Halo Talks is going to go up.
Yeah.
You're going to have your information. We're going to have show notes in there. It's going to say, contact Flex to do this, and this is how the process works. So take us through the process, how long it takes, and what the counterparty of the bricks and mortar or brand need to do in order to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always go to our website, withflex.com, learn more. We have a contact us, or you can schedule directly to get time with us. You can email me, sam@withflex.com.
Okay.
We'll get on a call. First thing we're going to do is learn more about your business. What is the product or services offering? There's a lot of activity in the wellness space. Some of it is definitely beneficial. Some of it is definitely more on the experimental side. So we want to make sure that, you have a product that we can confidently recommend that this is going to be good for people's health, and that our clinical team feels confident recommending that. So we're going to have a short conversation about your product. And then I'm going to ask about your payment infrastructure. How do you collect payment from members? What services are you using? The ideal flow is that you use our API, and we actually integrate directly into that checkout process. So we're not just looking to talk to brick and mortar here. We're looking actually to partner with platforms. Think like, your Mariana Tech, your MindBody.
Are you connected to those groups already?
We are talking to a lot of those groups already.
So it's a sidebar here, but we'll do it on air. We'll give you the list of those people and get that fast track, because the less work that a bricks and mortar location or franchisor or franchisee needs to do is going to be, hey, it's already on there, just hit the switch.
100%.
Okay, so we'll do that.
And we've, we started the business actually working with my own CrossFit gym in San Francisco, and they have been incredibly patient, shout out to CrossFit Potrero Hill, with a whole separate system for their members to check out. We also offer a reimbursement flow. So if for some reason, we can't integrate into your system, or you don't have the team to do that, members can still check out with their regular credit card, and then you can send them to us to get that letter and to help facilitate the reimbursement from their provider.
Okay, so ideally, I'm on Mariana Tech. We're good friends with them, Shannon and crew. Shout out to them. I am Barry's Boot Camp.
Yeah.
They're on Mariana Tech. They now work with Flex. Flex is now part of the checkout. If I buy a 10-pack or if I buy a membership
Barry's.
At Barry's, I would be able to use my HSA, FSA card as a payment processing
as a form
tool.
Of payment. Yep.
And nothing else would need to be done on behalf of Barry's. They're getting their payment right directly from you, I guess, through the payment merchant account.
Yep.
Which is going directly into Mariana Tech software, plugging that into the MRM, relationship management system, and it ends up in your bank account minus whatever fees there are for transactions, right?
Exactly.
So basically, the setup here is there's no user interface that they need to relearn. They don't have to train the rest of their team on how this works. They have to hey, here's an hour of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it benefits everyone. And there's no technology integration or custom build.
That's why we're looking to partner with people that provide these gym management platforms, because that's going to make it the easiest for the brick and mortar. Then it's just turning on an app in their system and they offer it. We do have materials to help train on-site staff to answer questions, because ultimately that they're the front lines. They're who the customer is going to go to when they have a question about this. We want them to understand why someone may or may not qualify for this form of payment. If they don't qualify, they're just going to buy that gym pass as they normally would with their credit card. So it's a pretty straightforward process. We try to make it as easy as possible for the merchants.
Amazing. And I've just got two other questions. And if you want to think of a quote that you want to share with us, if you have got any good quotes, so just think about that. You quote. You find one?
I don't know if I have a good quote.
Take 10, 15 seconds, because I'm going to ask you another question. There's $150 billion in the HSA, FSA accounts. That's accrued historical. Mm-hmm. How much is the annual amount of HSA, FSA buildup, and what is the maximum, or what's the average amount that a member, because I'm an employee of my own company, I don't have an HSA, FSA account. Maybe I should, I have no idea. But does the average person at Google have $6,000 in their HSA and $3,000 in their flexible spending account, or what's the
what's the average account
What's the
balance?
average amount of money that's in their account? Forget about historical. What do I get each year?
Yeah, so each year there's contribution limits, and those limits are indexed to inflation. So recently they've gone up a lot. So depending on the type of account, if it's FSA individual or HSA family, you can contribute in 2024 between $4,000 and $8,000 about to these accounts.
Both of them.
You usually only have one. You can only contribute to one per calendar year.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Gotcha.
Yeah, it depends. On your health insurance and your benefits from your employer.
Got it.
But yeah, so that's what you'll have. But those HSA dollars, they stay with you year over year. So
those accrue, but the FSA is use it or lose it.
Correct. Right. Yeah. So we see a lot of FSA activity in Q4.
Yeah.
It's a great time. If you're a fitness brand, you're thinking about advertising an annual pack.
That's such a great idea.
Getting people set for the new year. People have dollars to spend in Q4, and we see a lot of activity and spend at that time.
And then from a standpoint of, so I just want the average health club operator now to listen up, maybe sit up in your seat and just raise your eyebrows for a second. If you're selling a membership for $50, okay, that's $600 out of somebody's $4,000 account at the low end of this, right? So it's only 15% of their HSA. Now, the behavior and the psychology of this HSA account is that money's in there, I got to spend it, okay? So at the end of the year, like you're saying, or a Black Monday or Black Friday sale, Cyber Monday, right? That could all be related to saying here's a four-pack paid in full, and that'll be $2,400, right? And basically somebody could potentially use that and get their whole family on an account for a year. So there's a big amount of money here, and it's a fraction of what your membership is.
Yeah,
which is really
absolutely.
Key.
I mean, it's going to depend on other medical expenses that the consumer has had that year, but in December, I get texts, I get calls, people just saying, "Hey, I just bought a year's worth of contacts because what can I buy? Oh, I'm going to buy 8 pairs of prescription sunglasses because that's the only thing I know I can spend this money on. I'd much prefer to spend it at Barry's, at SoulCycle, at CrossFit, at any of these locations."
Awesome. So, look, you're an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur several times. It's a bumpy ride. I make progress one day, I win one day, I lose one day, and it's an up and down bounce. So how do you kind of keep yourself, given that you're an athlete and, hey, we're going to go on streaks, that we're not going to go on streaks. We've got to take a time out every once in a while. I got to kind of, reassess my team and my playbook. So what, is there a quote or something that you remind yourself keep moving forward, and like I know I'm going in the right direction. Maybe I don't see it, but I know it's happening. Or
I'm honestly having a hard time coming up with the quote. The thing that comes to mind is that prioritizing moving every day, and that's why I got into this business, is that, as an entrepreneur, there's always a longer list of things you need to do than what's possible in the day. But taking a step back to get outside, to move, to lift something, all of those things help clear my mind, help me refocus, reprioritize, and also manage stress. There are a lot of up and downs in this journey, and I think that's the best thing that I can do for myself and my team, to show up every day as my best self.
Awesome. So officially welcome to the Halo sector. You can use that term as much as you want. It's royalty free for a reason. They're going to call this whole thing in 5 years like the Halo, event. That's what I'm hoping. It's happening. And we're happy to make introductions on the API side as well as on the brand side. I think everybody needs to know that 2024, this has to be one of your top 3 priorities, okay? You got to figure out how to do Ozempic, weight loss reversal, group exercise programs. Mm-hmm. You need to embrace HSA, FSA, and you need to get your shit together and get artificial intelligence, but have intelligence to actually use the artificial intelligence. So find out everything you can about your member, find out what's in their HSA account, and then help them get results, and then they're going to stay longer, and that money is going to be coming out of a pre-tax spot. So focus on this. Thanks for coming to the industry in general. So you need people like you that are ahead of the curve and actually do the work and figure out like what's the special sauce and how does this business model work. So thank you for doing that. Mm-hmm. And you can take some shots on goal at me at some point, even though you're a midfielder.
We'll set up a time.
Yeah, we'll do it. You can do it from like half field. I'll save most of them. All right, great. Thanks for coming on. Go Halo.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.